everyone. Welcome to the July Integral Support Pod. Today we're doing Memories of Future Human, which is such a funny thing. I put it in many emails now. I'm Beth Bullhofer. I'll be your host tonight. And let's start off with Tom. Just up to 1 minute. I'm sorry, Tom, you just went off mute.
I'm Tom Habib. In my real life, I'm a clinical psychologist. I work with couples and families. I just did a presentation on a psychotherapist group run by Keith Witt, and it was really fun getting all that feedback from people on the highest stages of couple intimacy. So it's kind of fun getting back to my stuff rather than organizational. I'm done.
All right, I'm going to go next. I'm Beth Bullhofer. I am in Oakland. Tom is in San Diego, just in case you guys didn't know. I am an entrepreneur. I spent 23 years in tech, and now I am doing all kinds of fun things, leading improv training and workshops and a lot of fun things. I also am a yoga teacher. Tom, did you forget something?
No, I was saying hi to Earl.
Hi, Earl. Good to see you. All right, let's go to Karen.
Okay. I'm Karen Voorhees. Right now I'm in my summer fall cabin up in the Redwood Forest, 110 miles north of the Bay Area, but I live half the year in Berkeley, and Bet and I get together frequently. We're getting together on Friday when I'm back in town. I have a PhD in cultural history. I bailed out of academia to marry a doctor and spent the next 30 years or so meditating. I've been on a spiritual path for 40 years, created an organization for my guru. So I've been a housewife, and I'm a crazy visionary, disciplined academic, long-term meditator, death doula 6 times. I've done a lot of stuff, and I've been reading Ken Wilber for 40 years. My personal cognitive operating system is thoroughly Wilberian, and I love hanging out with people like you. And I think that's my minute.
Great job, Karen. And let's go to Luke.
Yep, Luke in Colorado. Probably spent a few years each in the disciplines of waking up and cleaning up and growing up. And still work to do and just checking in, seeing what's going on in this community here.
I forgot to tell everyone to tell where you are on the spiral dynamics and how many AQUAL quadrants you're covering. And just kidding. All right, Brandon, you're next.
Yes, I am Brandon Norgard. I am here in Folsom, California, which some of you guys might have heard of as, Johnny Cash wrote a song about, Folsom Prison. So I'm not in prison here. This is not what the prison looks like. This is my backyard. All right, so I am working on some tech entrepreneurship projects that utilize Integral in certain ways. I'm working on community development. I'm also a student at CIHS. There are some notable integralists who are there. I'm actually recently been really studying Nick Hedlund's thesis that brings together integral theory with critical realism. It's really complicated. It's called visionary realism, and it reworks integral in certain ways. And I think it's the future of deep thinking.
I love when someone can weave a new model into their introduction. It's just so cool. Let's go to Larry. Where are you? And tell us a little about yourself.
My name's Larry O'Connor. I'm from Chicago, Illinois originally. I live in Lakewood, Colorado for the last 20 years. I am a musician entertainer. I was a Chicago piano man for 20 years, playing in restaurants and hotels and piano bars, just like the Billy Joel song. And now I work in senior communities throughout the Front Range area. I've been using my job throughout my life as a means to support my intellectual curiosities that started maybe in 71 or so. Abraham Maslow, Alan Watts. I studied ontological design for 3 years with a guy who now runs the Newfield Group, Julio Olala. I've got some background in thinking, and but I'm new to relatively new to this discussion group, and I'm in. Okay.
Yay! This is so exciting. I love the diverse backgrounds that we bring. I am also a musician. I play the cello, Larry. All right, let's go to William. Is it William or do you have some kind of nickname?
I have lots of nicknames, but I think for now, William's just great. So I'm William Cody. I live in Vancouver, Canada, and I am in the process of becoming a future human. And I'm a retired academic from the University of British Columbia. My specialty is adult learning, lifelong learning. And in my retirement, I got bored of playing tennis, and I started a company called greatermeaning.com. And we focus on purpose in life. And I've taken the 4 quadrants and turned them into 6 dimensions of purpose. And I have a couple online courses and coaching, and that's what I'm doing. And I got big plans for the 6 dimensions of purpose.
6 dimensions of purpose. You heard it here. I want
and I have to say his book is excellent and easy to read. I highly recommend it.
That's saying a lot for the integral area,
Yeah.
writers. Please, if you have something that you're working on, like a project, like the 6 dimensions of purpose or meta hubs, and anything that you have, please put in the chat. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, but like the creative writers group last week, people have these amazing blogs. I want to kind of make a list of our community things that we're all doing. We're all doing really amazing things. And if you can put them in the chat, I'm going to start creating some kind of library. Just gave myself another action item. But yeah, I'm excited to read everyone's book and read your blogs and read your models. And I love that stuff. Okay, let's go to Earl, sorry. Earl is next.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Earl. Grew up in Philadelphia, living in Chicago these days. In March, I finished up 10 years as a software engineer at Google, working on various things, including a Google Assistant, which was our competitor to Siri and Alexa. Since then, and actually, I picked up that's like another project that had become my full-time focus. You might know Mason Ewald from who's currently leading Terry Patton. Terry Patton passed away, left New Republic of the Heart, the organization. So Mason's been involved in that, member of the integral community. We're actually co-founding a startup called Paths to help connect seekers with teachers. So a directory listing spiritual retreats, workshops. Tentatively, we're planning to start with mailing lists in specific areas, maybe eventually Integral itself, to let you know about free upcoming workshops and Zoom calls that you can attend. Yeah, so we're kind of focusing on that. This will be my first week working on that full time. Hoping to make progress over the coming months and year.
This is amazing. Earl used to live here in the Bay, and I met him in person. So I know he's a real person. I saw him at Future Human. And I think that if we're doing any kind of startup, we need to support each other. This is exactly why these support pods exist. Earl, I would love to recruit you to do an upcoming support pod. So consider it, put it on your, let me know which month you want to do, and we'll work on the format. Okay, great. I never
love the
pass up.
enthusiasm of your recruiting. Love it.
I never pass up an opportunity to recruit. Never.
ABR,
Vic, are you
always be recruiting? Love it.
always be recruiting? Looks like Vic has to go. So she's telling me. She's saying I have to run. All right, Vic, watch the recording. All right. I think everyone went, right? We everyone. Okay. from now on, we're going to raise our hands and share a memory, and I'm going to try to time us. So if I hold up the timer, it means that you probably need to wrap it up. I know how it is. I'm a Toastmaster. I've been so excited about a speech and I just want to keep telling, but we're going to just try to do 3 minutes each. And that way we can share as many stories and memories as possible. And I would love to go last. So who wants to go first? Raise your hand and we're going to do the little hand raising like this. That's the way it looks. All right. Don't be shy. Came here tonight. All right, we have a clapper and we have a hand raiser. We're gonna go with Karen because I think Larry, you're gonna be next. So go ahead and queue up and we'll call on you as so Larry, you did the clapping but not the hand raising. Let's go to Karen.
Okay. Yeah, I have so many wonderful memories of that conference, but the one that stands out is the plenary session that T. Poling conducted, because one of the five main facets of my personality, crazy visionary, is one of them. And it just pulling energies across the liminal barrier into an impression, into an image, into a symbol, into meaning, and then into words, and then into how to communicate it. And what T did was like, wow, I want to know, how does he do it? How did he do it? We had this group where it was the full group. It was the morning plenary session. There were no other groups. So everybody fit around the perimeter of the room. And then he had 7 people, volunteers, go into the center, and he cued us. And this was about what is the future human. One of the chairs was empty. I think it was the 7th or 8th chair, but one of the chairs in the center was empty. And the way he cued us, I mean, that put me in a liminal space. Not for the first round, there were 2 rounds, and just very clear. But this is like, I mean, this is like, as a cultural historian, this is the way ancient priests and priestesses, they would put themselves into these non-ordinary states of consciousness. And what came through in symbolic language, the priests, they would prophesy for the people. And so we had the first group of 7, and they went around a couple of times, and something came up in me. What triggered in me when he asked the question, the future human, anyway, I forget his cues, but something came through in me that was so powerful I started sobbing. And I was on the periphery for the first round. I think I had to just really like clamp every muscle so as not to disturb the people sitting on each side of me. So the next question was, is this something just for me, or is this something I'm supposed to be sharing? Question. But then the way he cued the second round with a second group of people to tie in to the first round made it very clear I'm supposed to share this with the group. So I went in and was one of the 7 people sitting there and expressed. And the image, the symbolic image I got was from the book of Revelations in the Bible, the woman clothed with the sun who's pregnant, and the dragon wants to devour her child. But the woman clothed with the sun is kind of one of my meaningful symbols. And she's pregnant with the future human. And so I've still been working with that since. But I mean, these are the kinds of, it was so wonderful. It was obviously a very meaningful experience for me. And I'll wrap up now. But it was what came through is something I've been working with since, symbolically. But I was just fascinated with how T did that. He's clearly had a lot of experience with this. And it was a beautiful contrast with all the plenary sessions. All the sessions were wonderful. But to have something that was imaginal as opposed to purely intellectual. I'd love to see, it was an expansion on what we usually see at conferences. And I'm done.
Karen, that was amazing. I got tingles and my hair stood on end. And I am working hard to recruit T to teach that method at the Embodied Integral, which is in April. See how I'm always promoting also? April 3rd to the 5th in Boulder. We need to learn this because all of us need to bring this back to our organizations. This is the skills that are going to change the world. Next up is Larry. Go ahead and start.
Okay, so the kind of observer that I was affected by the fact that I was a volunteer. And so I was helping out. so my comments have to do more with that behind the scenes thing and what I saw that I wanted to comment on. And so the first thing is I was just really impressed with how well everything ran, specifically how everything stayed on time, even though things were hugely short. 20 to 45 minutes for a talk is really scary to try and manage rapid fire like that. And I just thought that was remarkably well done. And so that's what I wanted to say, was that the organization was fine. As far as all the individual talks, as a beginner, and I listen to something and I get blown away. I go to the next thing, I get blown away. And then I sit and talk with people who've been listening to this stuff for 20 years and get a little bit more jaded opinion of it than mine does. So there is that dichotomy going on. The one guy that I will want to mention, because I don't know if he'll get mentioned, is Alexander Love did a talk. And in that talk, he talked about going to a prison and forgiving the guy who killed his father. Man, if anything is, the we competence, that was an example to be seen. And that concludes my comments.
Larry, it's so fun to hear someone from a new perspective to Integral, because I do think we hear these things a lot, and so it tends to become a little monotonous, but great to hear fresh eyes. And I was also in that talk, and it was amazing. That guy was a master. All right, we have Earl up next.
Yeah, I'll share. I really liked Roger Walsh's talk, talking about how to take some of the ancient teachings and to point out places where maybe they need to be updated. You know, some of the blind spots, some of the things that weren't recognized, acknowledging some of the changes in society and the world where they could be updated. I think for me, it was an antidote. I think sometimes I worry like within different kind of spiritual communities, including Integral to some extent, there's this kind of reverence for the past and thinking like somebody taught something in the past and so we can't change it, and so I really appreciate him using his position, his role to say like, hey, maybe sometimes it's important to change some of the things or revisit some of the things from the past. So I appreciate him opening up that discussion.
Thank you so much, Earl. It was really fun. He's subtly humorous. And if you're in the Bay Area, he is running a party next Saturday. I believe it's Saturday. So I know that you guys aren't in the Bay Area. Everyone's in Boulder. Not really, but all right. Next up, who's next? We don't have any hands up. Who's next? All right, Brandon.
Yeah, well, for those of you who are there, are going to be, there, I'll see you guys. And apparently I'm giving a ride to Karen, riding out with Marty Behrens as well, who couldn't make it to Boulder. He's trying to save up money for other things like his daughter's wedding, for example, in Scotland. Now, that's expensive, but you guys will be able to meet him on Saturday. So the was actually the awesomest thing about Icon for me was the opportunities to have these direct participatory intellectual discussions with people, that happened at the bar or at the lobby or these parties. And, that there's the food for thought that's in these presentations, either the plenary longer sessions or those breakout sessions. But then you need to be able to talk to these people. When I was able to do that, that was really awesome. I got a lot of chance to have a lot of discussions with Nick Headland, who I shared a room with, and he and I also went to Boulder for a couple of days afterwards to climb at least one of the Rocky Mountains, which we did, and fortunately no helicopter rides for me this time, like that happened last year when I hurt myself really bad climbing near Lake Tahoe, and had to get airlifted out of there. So, I didn't hurt myself this time. It's good, and yeah. So there's also like opportunities to work on projects. A lot of these ideas, the rubber meets the road when you automate some of this with with software development and project management and community development. So you have those opportunities to actually do that. So that's what's really interesting to me and really important is this discussions, the follow-up, and these plans for projects. And some of that's still coming together.
Wow, so much passion in that. Thank you, Brandon. All right, who's next? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Who's next? All right, I'll go next. So many memories. Let me turn my timer on so I don't go over. I think the first most profound moment was standing outside of registration before the conference had already begun, it had not begun yet. And I'm just standing there with like 3 or 4 people. This one lady is an integral architect who, I don't know, lives in like 2 countries. I don't understand how she does that. And she's just telling us about her work. And I was like, where would I meet this person? And another guy was an energy worker of some sort from San Diego, Steve something. Anyways, it was just like, I'm just sitting there with these people and I'm like, these are the best people I've ever met. And that was it. This conference hadn't even begun yet. Flash forward to sitting in this opening session after Tom, which Tom did a great job. But there was this guy, and I'm trying to figure out who it was. Someone can tell me his name. But he had do this meditation that we closed our eyes and we visualized ourselves in different things. And like we were underwater. Does anyone remember the guy? We were underwater and we were all swaying like seaweed. And I had this profound sense of peace and connectedness and just being transported with this incredible meditation this guy was leading. If someone can remember his name, I would be like so appreciative. And then the next most incredible thing was playing music with all of these people who were dancing and playing. We had these improv. Ed Sareth, I think that's how you say his name. He is a master improviser who writes books on and teaches improv at the top level. He was with us on his horn, improvising songs. It was amazing, which will never be recorded and never replicated. It's a moment in time that will just be in my memory until Alzheimer's wipes it off. But it was amazing and so incredibly powerful. And there's this young guy. Again, I don't know who he was or where he came from or anything, but he had this flute and he played these Middle Eastern songs. Karen was out there dancing and he just was improvising. I don't know if he was improvising, but it was so powerful. And everybody was either clapping or banging on something or dancing. It was really a transcendent moment in my life. And I can't wait to embodied human. See, there you go. Embodied integral will be bringing that back. We'll have a lot more of that. Those are the top memories that I had. Again, just hallway conversations, these moments of transcendence, state change, and seeing all my friends, getting to hang out with Earl, who was in my backyard 2 years ago. He came to my first, actually, I think he missed my first yoga class, but he was here shortly after that. And that's 3 minutes. Who's next? All right. Uh, William wasn't even there, but he wants to share. Go, William.
Well, no, well, I have to say something because I'm here. And I think what I want to say is that I've been to a couple of integral conferences in the past. And the coolest thing is the whole flavor of stretching ourselves in so many different ways. It is one of the coolest types of events because everyone is there trying to become more of who they are and who they can be. And they're doing it in such enormous diversity. And they're doing it in, within 4 dimensions. And they're doing it in 25 different types. And they're doing it in many different stages of consciousness. And that stretching of our human potential is the thing that I love most about integral meetups and get-togethers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we still have some time left. Luke, Anything popping up for you? Any memories?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to nail it down to something specific, but I'll pick up on the themes of that have kind of been discussed about either the stretching of oneself and of the kind of the moments in between uh, moments, if you will, or in between the talks. And I mean, of course, it's nice to see a number of people in person that I've known or have met in online courses and such, and get the 3D experience in person. But um, the more I think challenging yet rewarding um, experiences can come when it's someone new, and it kind of forces me to very much be in the moment, and kind of um, approach that moment and kind of you know it's kind of jumping off a cliff into the unknown of sorts, to be open enough to what is actually going on, um, and um, kind of resonate with someone there. So there are a few of those I appreciated, I would say. And again, I'm trying to um, it's going from just noticing maybe we're both bobbing our heads at the same time when a speaker is saying something, to maybe just then starting a conversation after that goes for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, and realizing um, how many common interests that we have, but also going deeper in a sense, um, and really feeling kind of where the other person is coming from, and it's almost yeah, I mean, it's one of those more intimate moments where I'm seeing someone, I'm being seen, and we're sharing things that we wouldn't have thought about even moments ago. So, uh, and then being able to make those connections too, like knowing what they're kind of into and maybe pointing them in other directions with people that they might be interested in if they haven't talked to, and that sort of thing. So it can kind of expand outward.
Yeah, I think Luke, you're capturing a lot of the feelings that we had, the connections. I was thinking about some of the bathroom connection. You're in the bathroom, and by the way, it was hysterical, at least in the women's bathroom. I don't know what it's like in the men's. They had this like dance music from the 90s. You know, Britney Spears, Hit Me Baby One More Time, and you're saying that you just left the most meditative, incredible, transformative experience in this session, and then you're in the bathroom and it's like, hit me baby one more time, and you're standing there washing your hands next to this other person, and you're just like, what? My mind is transformed. I'm a new person. Oh my gosh. And it was hysterical. What was the men's bathroom like? Any dance music?
I think I remember there being cheesy 80s music, in our bathroom as well, and it's I think the idea though is that you're integrating, these earlier stages, that's like the gosh, I don't know, a lot of the music you could see as like Orange, as Britney, and there's a lot of that, or Orange or Green music, and that's like stuff we're integrating with our integral meditative conscious states that we're moving into.
Yes. Tom, did you select that music on purpose to help us integrate our early 20s and teens? No? Okay. I like
Wish
that
I could
theory
say I
though.
did, but I didn't.
I think it was just they just played that music, every day. Anyways, it was really fun, but catching up also, you know what, Larry, William, sorry, we probably met at Sonoma at what's the future? Because you're so familiar looking. We probably sat next to each other. But it was fun to see some of the people from not Sonoma. Oh my gosh. It's
Sedona.
Sedona.
Sedona. Yes. Is that true, William? You were there?
Yes, I was, and that's where I
Okay.
met Earl also.
Yes. Okay, good. I knew it wasn't crazy. Anyways, yeah, so catching up with some of the people that I hung out with in Sedona was also really rewarding. Like, how is your life going? How's that project? What's going on with the book that you were working on? Whatever it was really fantastic. Okay, we still have more time. How about speakers? Some things you learned from a speaker or a session that was particularly powerful.
Can I go?
Yes.
So, on the night that, I think it was the night we had the dance. Was that Saturday night?
Yes.
So during the day, Bensei called a meeting in his room for Lyndon Jose Fuentes, who you know from doing WTF, but Jose, has gotten integral in conferences going in South America. Obviously, Bensei was there representing Europe. Riker de Leon had already left the conference, but we wanted her there. And then I was representing Icon, and Corey DeVos was there from Integral Life. It felt like an historic meeting because it's the theme that we were emphasizing is why a group that talks about, coming together in we space, why do we function in the orange level so fragmented? And Icon had been talking about that for the months leading up to the conference. And Bensei kind of jumped on that theme, and we all got together and started talking about how can we cooperate more? Why are we reinventing the wheel for everything? And we already had some traction for what we were doing with ILEA in terms of the 501c, that, sharing bank accounts. I mean, all this dicey stuff that awakens your territorial, your bluish issues, your tribal issues. So that felt very historic to me, that, we're actually leaping beyond that and trying to do something, more unified. And why not? Why be so territorial with this? And part of the way we're structuring Icon 26 is the longevity, like we're picking committee chairs and co-chairs so that, the institutional knowledge doesn't die and it can continue over time in doing that. As far as the conference, like, I was in the lower right so often trying to think of all the logistics, but I think about the morning times, just to the right of the registration desk. And the staff knew when I was sitting there, don't come near me unless you got something really good. Because I was actually working on, opening every morning. How was I going to create residence and open up that morning session? So it kind of like was under the gun, trying to feel into the previous day and come up with material to really open up. That was the gun. And then introduced every speaker. I'd be sitting not listening so much to the presentation as I was getting ready for what I had to do next. So part of me can't wait to listen to the tapes to see what actually happened. I was telling Karen, it wasn't until after the closing ceremony when Paul Block came up to me and said, "This went a lot better than I expected." And at that moment, I went, "Oh, yeah, it did." Because I was still full of anxiety and performance anxiety up to that point, even though, people were giving me positive feedback. So I'm curious. The one speaker that did stand out is when Alan Combs came up with the third bar, not bar, what would you call it? Would you call it a not a line? It would be it was intersubjectivity on coming out three-dimensionally from states and stages. I thought that was another historic moment. And, articulating what that means, because we all understand states and stages, the interplay between them. But you throw in that third dimension into subjectivity, which I couldn't have picked a better one. I love that idea of what is it creating right now? What's the feeling? And being aware of that, both as we think about the state and the stages. So it went from an individual activity to a two or more, a group activity by him doing that. I thought that was brilliant. I don't know how much he planned it, but Alan wants to be involved in Icon 2026. And we've got a number of great people that if any of you have the time and really want to get involved, we're starting to fill out committees and really getting this thing working like clockwork. I think I'm done.
I love it. As a 17-year Toastmaster, I like the blue. I know some people call it amber. I call it blue. I'm all about the blue. I love me some blue. All right. Any other people want to share a highlight of a talk, something they learned? I'm just going to call it Adam Leonard. He's not here. I don't know why. He's been secretly doing things. I know we're not supposed to tweet about it, but he's been secretly doing integral work at Google and bringing it to the highest levels. And he gave us a lot of sneak peek. We weren't supposed to share the slides anywhere, only in person, so I can't tell you now. But it was mind-blowing and revolutionary how you can go to a large company and basically infiltrate and covertly teach them integral thought secretly without them realizing it. And he's doing good work. And you know, I grew up Christian, and we always were like, "Oh, the sinners in Hollywood. We shouldn't." How do you infiltrate? You go and be in Hollywood, and you bring your ideas. That's how you do it. You don't run away like, "Oh, they're bad. We have to hide from them." You have to be in the world. You guys can tell my Christian background is coming in here. But it's really like we have to go and be the missionary in the world. I know I quit my tech job, so I'm not really a good I'm not doing practicing what I'm preaching, but I think it's really Adam's topic and slides were very impactful to me, and maybe one day he'll be able to share more details about what he's up to. But those of you who are in the room know what it was. Anyone? Oh, Earl, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give a second for Adam's talk. What I saw was great, and he's doing great stuff, kind of practicing integral, sharing integral in coaching and setting up like training programs for executives at Google. And I can't say more than that. But yeah, doing really great stuff, drawing upon his experience at Stegen and, you know, collaborating with Ken and really putting it all into practice. So it is really inspiring to see that. I'll also plug another talk, which was, I think, the last one, Mark Fischler's talk. This also, this fits the theme. This is, I think this might have been like another provocative talk for the integral community. But basically, you know, we have, you know, we might have like our different political stances, and he was challenging this was a really strong kind of academically rigorous talk saying, you know, to look beyond like the branch of government, you know, doing what we might want, you know, reflecting our own political kind of beliefs or ideologies or aspirations to what like what a kind of integral approach to justice and public policy would look like that would be more inclusive, and you know, to advocate for policies that take into account, you know, different perspectives across the political spectrum. So I thought that was just a really brilliant, really insightful, really inspiring way of thinking about moving politics forward, especially in the US, which can be so acrimonious.
Yes, I thought his talk was fantastic. I saw him speak last at the What's the Future in Sedona. I heard him talk there, and I got to hang out with him a lot. We definitely need to be able to talk about these controversial subjects, and I think it was a perfect example of how to do that tactfully, and don't be afraid. Any other big takeaways, highlights from his talk that hasn't been mentioned or that you really enjoyed that changed your life? There were
You know,
speakers who I didn't get to see. I didn't get to see Earl or Brandon. You spoke or not? No, you didn't
Nope.
speak. Okay, well, that's why I didn't see you. Tom,
when I think that Adam didn't get his application in time and we rejected him up, do you remember that?
yeah,
And then some people
I
in our
do.
ears said, you gotta let Adam in, you gotta, and then a space opened up. And the other one was not Alexander Love, Churchill. He was slated for a workshop, not a keynote. And it's just because, what's her name? The
Ma
politician,
Marianne Williamson.
man. But when she dropped out last minute, we had to put Churchill in, and God, he ended up being so good.
Yes.
I was blown away how good he was.
You know, it's ironic with the candidates that we have right now that we maybe could have really got a lot of voters for Marianne Williamson. So I'm sad that she missed the opportunity to talk to the huge audience, Tom, that we had, and that was her loss. But anyways, Churchill was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
She came to the Unity Church in Sacramento, and I didn't go to that because I was like, oh, she's going to be at Icon. I missed my chance to see her.
Yeah, I think she missed out. Her loss. All right. Anyone else want to share anything? We just have a few.
Bobby Azarian, who kind of came in from the side. Yes, and this is kind of particular to me, but my shtick is big history. You know, we have a track record of evolution of new levels of complexity for 13.82 billion year track record. This is a pretty robust set of data here. And I have a chart for human history that codifies all of it I've presented, but Bobby Azarian showed a chart that I've thought I ought to make, but I never did. And so I'm going to track him down, get his copy. He showed that over the 13 or 14 billion year history of the universe, the timeline on it for the emergence of a whole new order of complexity that like you need a whole new science to study that you could never have predicted from the previous one. And that the next new order of complexity emerges on very roughly a logarithmic scale. And I had kind of thought that, but I'd never actually charted it. And he's got the chart. And it's like and I love the rest of his talk and everybody else's talk, but this is like being with people who are seeing the same big pictures and big patterns than I am, coming from very different starting points. I mean, it aligns, you know, from all the quadrants, from all the disciplines, the big pictures are aligning. And what this means, I'm going to just pitch this. What this means is the next new order of complexities now happen in human societies. And they are happening, the logarithmic scale, the next new order emerges very roughly 10 times sooner than the previous one did. They're now happening within human lifetimes, right? This is going to get faster and faster. I mean, we are going to go up through second and third tier so fast, people. I mean, this is what's opening up with the kind of consciousnesses that we're in various ways we're talking about here. This is going to open up fast. So buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a wild ride.
I didn't know that second tier consciousness was artificial.
Oh, intelligence is already in AI, but we'll chew on that some other place, William.
What I loved about Bobby is he's new to Integral.
Yes.
But part of his job is translating, you know, really in the weeds empirical data for the consumer out there. And it's interesting that he knew enough about Integral to, you know, really kind of make this meta observation overall. And I had some interesting discussions with him because he's saying, I get Integral now. I don't know how much more I have to read. And I encouraged him to just get a little more deeper into it, because I told him it'll put whatever you're doing on steroids when you have a working knowledge of this fluidity between the quadrants, the lines, the states and stages. When that all begins to coalesce, doesn't matter what you're doing in life, it starts to energize everything. But you got to get that fluidity going, which is a little tough.
All right, last call for anyone else who wants to share anything, and then I'm going to do announcements for the upcoming integral pods. All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. August, we are having so I highly recommend, even if you're not a writer, you should come to our Integral Creative Writers Pod because you probably know a writer. Invite your friends. We're going to have a panel discussion over self-publishing. What are the pros and cons of self-publishing, and what are the different platforms? We have several of the writers who are into Substack, and what is their experience on Substack? I subscribe to many people on Substack, but I don't publish there, and it'll be interesting to hear. Also, people talk about Kindle publishing, just blog publishing, good old fashioned. So come on out. That is on the second Monday in August at 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST. And then we are working hard behind the scenes on a talk for the third Monday, which is this pod, the third, the regular generic integral support pod. And we're working on that, and you'll get an email newsletter about that topic as soon as we have finalized it. And I believe we're open on September. So if you want to speak, I would love to have some of these entrepreneurs, people doing these really exciting things. Please consider speaking at the third Monday of September, which is the 16th, I believe. Come on out and talk about one of your projects, and we will workshop it together on how to get whatever it is. If you're recruiting people to join, Earl, I feel like our support pod should be on your list, and also come workshop it with us so we can help you. We all are going to have different ideas and network to help amplify the work. So please consider anybody out there who has a project. We really need more support around here. All right, and that's it. Everyone have a great week, and take care, everyone. See you next month.
Thanks, Bet.
Thank you.